Oh, I see. Oh, the camera's on. I was just doing my nails, my weekly nail. I'll put that away. I'm here today. This is Lance Johnson with Rio Fire Jewelry. I'm going to try and videotape myself on making a band to show you how to bend a heavier shaped band and get it to where you want it and solder it together. So this is the piece of silver that I rolled out. Now I'm going to cut it to length and we'll go from there. So I'm making a 9 1/4 6mm wide heavy hammered band today, and I have a little measuring device on my bench right here so that I can easily do a quick measurement. I'm going to quickly cut it to length. Sometimes I like to use my GRS tool to hold it in place while I cut some of these heavier pieces. So this is what I ended up with. That's going to be about an 8 1/2, but the hammering that I do on it will stretch it up hopefully to the 9 1/4. So here we go. First thing I want to do, since I have rolled this out on the mill, I'm going to have to anneal it to make it soft so that I can bend it around. I'll use my bigger torch, my Smith torch, to heat it up to anneal it. When you heat it up, you want to heat it up as evenly as possible. You don't want to get it to a red color, you want to get it to a straw color, and then quench it. You don't have to quench it, you can let it air cool to get to the temperature that you want. Now I'm going to make sure that this is straight. I'm going to take it over and hammer it flat, make sure it is straight. For those of you who like, you can stamp the hallmark and the 925 in there at this point if you like. I have an inside ring stamp which I use most of the time, and so that's what I'll use. Where I cut this off with the saw, I want to straighten it up. The other end I straightened up over on my polyarbor, which I do all of the time because it's very quick and precise, but I'll do this one with a file so that you can see what I'm doing. Now I believe I've got that end nice and square to match the other end. Now I'll start to round it out. I use these green handle pliers. They're very common in the industry, and this is the shape that they have for bending rings. These work very well. I use them on almost every ring. Since I've annealed it, I can bend it quite easily. I'm going to take it to about this shape right here with my hands. It's still a little tough. Remember that every time you bend this silver or gold, it will harden more and more. So you may get to this point and say, I just can't bend it anymore. And so the next thing I would do or suggest that you do is anneal the ring again, and that will make it easy for you, or easier for you, to bend into shape. If it's not any easier to bend into shape after you've annealed it, you haven't annealed it properly. So you'll notice a dramatic difference if you've annealed it properly, and it will be a lot easier to bend and shape. Now, on stressful days, I don't do the second annealing. I just use my hammer, and on my bench here I have a 2x4, and then on top of that 2x4, every so often I'll go get a yardstick from Home Depot. It has a lot of really good functions. One, it already has a measuring surface there for me, and it's really soft. So I'll take this ring here with my rawhide mallet, and down on this end where I do a lot of hammering, and there's a lot of good indentations that will hold the ring in place while I hammer it. So I'll just start hammering. Remember not to hit your fingers, that hurts. Now, when that bent around, it's off just a little bit, so I'm going to straighten that up so that they match up perfectly. What I do is hold it with my big pliers like this, right here, and then I find a place that I can put the other end in to twist it a little bit. My bench pin works really well for that. Now it's matched up. Tap it just a little more, and as you can see, hopefully this will focus for this, that it's all matched up evenly, and I didn't have to break a sweat really to make that happen. So now I'm going to solder it, and then we'll straighten it out and do the textured finish. I like having my third hand up here where I can see and work with it. I use the Handy Flux for soldering silver. That seems to be the best for me. Works great. What I like to do is heat this up now and let all of this flux bubble down to nothing. At that point, that surface is sticky, so I can either take and cut a piece of the solder and just lay it on there and heat it up till it solders. And so sometimes I'll take and put a piece of solder on the top part, and then I'll heat it from underneath and draw the solder all the way through to make sure it's good. That's a good way to learn as you get going and do a lot of soldering. You just want to make sure that you have both sides heated evenly. Get it to the point where you can see that the flux is nice, bright, shiny. And then you can just feed the solder in there and solder that really nicely. So it's very hot. You can see that it's soldered. I'm going to quench it. Now my goal is to get it round enough that I can put it on my mandrel and shape it from there. So I do the same process. That should be round enough that I can put my mandrel in there now and round it out. As you use your mandrel, I always put one finger on the back side of the ring, and I pull down the mandrel with the ring as I'm going, putting tension on it to keep it in place to where I want it to be. Don't be afraid to hit it. Just don't hit your finger. And if I need to stretch it more, I'll get my big rawhide mallet. Also, I have an inside ring stretcher over here on my other bench. I'm just going to stretch it up a little. It's still not quite up where I want it to be, and so I'm going to anneal this ring again, get it soft so that I can stretch it up on my ring stretcher. If you get it too hot, your solder's going to melt again, and I don't want that to happen. So get it a nice straw color before the solder ever melts. Quench it, and now it should be nice and soft that I can go up another size on the ring stretcher very easily. Perfect. Now it's very nice and round. Yeah, it's black and that, but we'll clean that up as we go, and no problem. The first thing that I like to do is I use a heatless wheel, which is like this. This is a bigger version of the heatless wheel. I have several different sizes so that I can do the inside of the ring or the outside of the ring. This will fit nicely inside of the ring, and I'm going to clean that out, make sure I've got all of the bumps out on the inside. I want to take out all of the solder marks from the place, the seam that I soldered, and make it even with the rest of the inside of the ring. Now you can see that the inside of the ring is all nice and smooth and clean. The next step that I do from here is I use a rubber wheel, and if you were interested in these rubber wheels, I can tell you which one to get. Oops, got a phone call. Hang on a minute.